Hello and welcome to this short tutorial on product goals with me, Alan Kelly. It doesn't matter whether you call them product goals, North Stars, True North or some other name. The key thing we're talking about here is what do you want your product to be when it grows up? So not in the next few months, in the longer term. That might be a year, it might be 5 years away. It might be a goal you never actually reach to, but you keep aiming at. That's fine, as long as you're improving the product as you go along. These goals act to provide common understanding to everybody working on the product. They know what they're building, and they act to provide an understanding to the people who use your product or sponsor your project or sell your product, whatever it is. The goal gives you a common understanding. They act to guide your decision making. I started by using the term product goal. That term comes from Scrum, and we'll reference Scrum as we go along, but by no means is this tutorial Scrum specific. I don't know the origins of the terms North Star or True North, but I hear them used in the same context when we're talking about a product. It's that bigger thing you're aiming for. For all intents and purposes, these terms describe the same thing. If you want to know a bit more about this, delve into the description I give in Why and How Long-Term Product Goals. That document describes most of what I'm going to say here. Before we get stuck into creating the goals, let's give you a bit more context. First thing I need to say is I'm talking about products in this tutorial. You can apply these ideas in other contexts, but specifically I'm thinking about products here and digital products in particular. I've put up the definition from Wikipedia because I want to highlight two things. First of all, your product might be a service. It can sometimes be useful to distinguish between a product and a service, and sometimes we might say that the product enables a service, or the service is only possible because of a product. In the context of this tutorial, when I say product, your product might be a physical thing, a digital thing, it might be a service you provide, it may be a service you provide for others who repackage it and sell it on. So the products I'm talking about are the things your customers pay money for. I've already said that I want to focus mainly on digital products. My background is certainly in software development, so I may reference software products more than is respectable. And finally, I just want to point out that while when we talk about products, and I've just done it myself, we talk about customers and we think about markets. Many of these ideas can be applied inside a corporation, to a charity, in the public sector. You're still producing products that maybe you aren't going to bring to market, but are going to be used to either build another product, a bigger product, or, as we said a moment ago, provide services. So the same ideas work even if you're not in a market. One of the key things to recognize with goals and plans is they are nested. There are goals within goals and plans within plans, like the famous dolls. The outermost plans are long term. They are very goal orientated. They set out the state you want to get to, the end state, the outcomes that you want to bring about and the impact you create. But they are very broad. Because they are broad, they're not so used for turning into action. So at the other extreme, you have your immediate plans and goals for this week, this sprint. These are very specific and very action orientated. I encourage you to think in 3 time horizons: now, the medium term, and the long term. Perhaps not surprising. At each time horizon, goal setting and planning is going to be different. You need different techniques and different approaches. I will now talk through each one briefly. The focus of this tutorial is mainly on the outer one, the long-term one, which we do with goals. The first level to look at is now, the immediate future, typically the next 2 weeks. This parallels a standard Scrum sprint. Although you're free to vary the time length or use a Kanban style of working, I myself am a fan of 1 week sprints, but whatever your time period is, you understand we're talking about now, the here and now, and the immediate future. When you plan for the next 2 weeks, you're very operational, you're very action orientated. Typically, a team will come out of a Scrum planning session and they'll have small stories or small tasks which they intend to deliver in the next few days. And when you're planning for the next 2 weeks, everything's really predictable. You know more about the next 2 weeks than at any other time. Think about it. You know who's going to be working. You know who's going to be on vacation or holiday. You know what interruptions you might have from the organisation. There might be company meetings and things. Sure, some people will get ill. Sure, the well could get, blown massively off course. But the worst that could happen is you just write off these 2 weeks and you have to replan it. For the next 2 weeks, things are pretty certain. Next up is the near future, the medium term, if you like. We're talking about the next few months. In many organisations, this will be considered quarterly planning, although I've had some companies talk about seasonal planning. This period aligns very nicely with a typical OKR cycle of 12, 13 weeks, 3 months. And as you might expect from someone who's written a book on OKRs, I'm going to assume you're using OKRs here. But you don't have to use OKRs. You can use other techniques. You can use other quarterly planning approaches. At this level, the future's not as predictable as when you're talking about days and weeks. But you still have a pretty good idea of what the world's going to look like. Some things will change, but most things will be similar. Most things will be an extrapolation of now. At this level, planning is going to be more tactical than strategic. Plans are orientated around your desired outcomes, the objectives you've got that I recommend when you're using OKRs, objectives and key results. The aim of quarterly planning is not to decide what tasks will be done. That gets done in the sprint planning, the immediate planning. At this level, it is to decide what the outcome will be for the end of the 3 months. What can we achieve? The team will be responsible for delivering these outcomes. At this level, the question is less how long will it take to do this and more how much of this can we do in the time available. You've got 3 months. Maybe you can't solve everything, but you can do something. Finally, the long term. The key thing about long-term planning is that it is most unpredictable. In the long term, almost everything is variable and many assumptions will turn out to be wrong. Therefore, future planning has to be both strategic and goal orientated. We can think about what we want to achieve. We can't necessarily think about how we're going to achieve it. It is strategic in the sense that these plans are broad and they only consider important issues. There are few, if any, details. And since there are no details, since so much can change, these plans are going to have to be goal orientated. The intention is for you to plan around the outcomes that you want to achieve, not so much how you will achieve them. So long-term plans are more likely to reference your purpose and your values, and you may have several goals over the long term. This will all be encoded in your product goals and your strategy statements. That's important. That's what we're talking about in this video, is how you boil down all of this stuff into your product goals. So there you have the 3 planning horizons. Now, immediate. I'm avoiding the term short term. It's the immediate term. The medium term, the long term. Here and now, the next 2 weeks, we're planning with actions. We're planning with stories. We're planning with tasks. Medium term, we're planning with OKRs and objectives. Long term, we're planning with goals. Enough of me talking. You've had about 10 minutes of me talking. If you want to know more about these topics, and if you haven't done so already, go and read the why and how document I've referenced before. But right now, a little exercise. What I would like you to do is attempt 4 questions. So pause the video when I finish and go and do the questions. First, can you write down your cycle lengths? If you think about, your smallest cycle. It may well be a sprint. Okay. What is your cycle outside of that? It could be your quarterly planning, your OKR planning. And what's the cycle outside of that? What is your long term? How far into the future are you looking? When you've done that, write down the ceremonies and events that you would expect in each cycle. So with a 2-week sprint, you're going to have planning, you're going to have demo, you're going to have retrospective, you may have some other ceremonies in there, you're going to have something similar at the OKR level, but write down what you need to do as a matter of course each time round the cycle. And also include any important dates in there. Start to build yourself out a calendar. This is going to be important in the future. Third, look at your 3-month schedule. Build out the calendar some more. When do you need to have your next season planning done by? When do you need to start doing it? Who needs to review your plans? Who do you need to consult before you do them? What other events and happenings are you going to have in the next 3 months to be ready for the 3 months that comes after it? Fourth, take your schedule, take it to your team, take it to your colleagues, take it to your bosses, show them, get their feedback. What would they include? What might they like to remove? Let's build out think about your cycles, let's build out your timeline, and let's consult other people. This brings us to the end of chapter 1. So stop the video, go do the exercise, consult your peers, consult your teams. If you're doing this tutorial inside the Knowledge Exchange, then you can post your answers in one of the forums and I can review them there and we can discuss them online. If you're watching this tutorial elsewhere, then you can email me your answers if you like and I can take a look at them. Or if your package includes some time with me, then please book some time and let's go over your answers there.